Heyo, welcome everyone to Today in the Scene by Indie Arcade Wave. I'm Joe, your host, and here on In the Scene, we dive into what's happening in the arcade space from new arcade owners and operators, indie developers, and just news in the space in general. Now, if you're looking to bring an indie arcade game to your arcade, don't forget the website is live. We've got 13 games on there. Some of them have a buy now button, some of them you have to get in touch with me. But either way, we'll make sure you get the game that you want for your personal collection or for your arcade. Now, this week, we are talking to an arcade in Oregon. I met Eric just over a year ago at Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and we got to chatting about his arcade. We wanted to do an interview. It never happened, and here we are. We've got him now, and we're gonna bring him in. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Nice to see you. Thanks for having us this morning.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you guys on to chat about the arcade and let us know about Arcade 2084. So let's just pass it right over to you guys. Like, how did you guys get into the video game and arcade space?
I'll let you handle most of this.
Well, I was at university, it was around 2015, 2016, and uh, I developed this idea for this place that could help to facilitate bringing people together again the way we saw them come together across all social and economic strata in the early 80s with the emergence of these phenomenal video arcades. So we got into uh, the development of it over the following few years and found a location and signed on it in 2020. And then COVID hit.
Yeah, and we all know how that went. That was not a fun time for arcades. Doors got closed. It was a long time. I know some arcades were closed for like 4 months. Some arcades were closed for like 16 months. All depended on where you were. So good thing we're past that. Not dealing with it anymore. Tell us a little bit about Arcade 2084. Like, what do you guys have there? What sets you apart from some arcades in the area? Because I know you guys have won a handful of awards for 2024.
That's true. 2024 brought us another year of, you know, gold ribbons for best event venue or entertainment venue, best nightclub, and best cocktails. And the quality of our menu sets us apart. We have an amazing pizza. We bring in our pizza crust from Italy, and it's a wood-fired crust, and we finish on stone. Just really delicious, surprisingly high quality for people. They're not accustomed to getting a very high quality of food and drink at arcades, and so that was one of the major distinctions that we offered. And even now, people continue to discover that, expecting just to come to an arcade, see some old games. And Arcade 2084 is so much more than just an old, you know, arcade room. Uh, when you enter, you're transported. It's time travel to those initial arcades, and it's a truthful experience. It's not about us. It's not about all the great '80s stuff we've collected and are displaying, but it is about America and all the people who come there, even who aren't American, from all over the world to experience perhaps for the first time what these arcades were really like and have a chance to relax and enjoy their refreshments.
And we did win silver for best arcade, not gold, but there's a giant pinball museum nearby. So to come second place to them that's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know which arcade you're talking about. They're insanely big. They have a crazy collection. They've got like the largest lunchbox collection in the world too, which is just like another wild thing to have there. But clearly, you guys are doing something right if you're getting that stand out of a position. I've seen some of the reviews like if you're in the Portland area, you have to go to this arcade, even though it's not in Portland. Like seeing things like that definitely speaks volumes about the community that you guys have built and the location that you guys have built. Let's talk a little bit about what's in the arcade, right? You got pizza, you got drinks, you got classic games, you got like cosmic pool. Like where did you guys get all this stuff and like kind of put it all into one place?
Well, the plan was to provide, these things that one might expect at an arcade or even an arcade bar, but we needed to bring it just head and shoulders above what others were doing. We wanted a place that was both approachable but upscale, so that people were getting high quality and weren't afraid to come and enjoy it. When you say, we have games, we have retro games, we have 80s arcade games, but the collection reflects a quintessential lineup of those big titles that a lot of the country, a lot of the world got to see and got to play, and many missed in the early 80s. Of course, Pac-Man, of course, Donkey Kong, Defender, Qbert, those big titles, and a number of deep cuts. And they coin up, and that's an authentic, experience. That's very important. The food isn't just, your average snacks. Like I mentioned, we've gone the extra mile to bring something special to the menu. The drinks themselves, when we are awarded, gold ribbon for cocktails, that's because of that extra mile. We create our own simple syrup out of pure cane sugar. Your mixers are squeezed, from fresh fruit right in front of you. We have innovated a brand new beverage. Route 84 is our own handcrafted, in-house nitro root beer, and there's nothing else like it anywhere. Route 84 also comes in a smooth and hard series with the alcohol infused right in. Uh, Jack Daniels is in one that makes overdrive. Route 84 Turbo is made with Captain Morgan spiced, and Supercharger is made with Absolute Vanilla. You can get these in a float also. Um,
But like there's the gaming area, the pool area, the sitting area, which has karaoke and all that. It's a full experience. So you don't just come in to play games. There's people who come in, they don't want to play games at all, but they like hanging out. It's a lot of fun, good music, good lighting. A lot of black lights and lasers. It's people want to go out and do things. They don't want to just sit around, and we provide a full experience for a variety of people to do that.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. Like you guys create this atmosphere, right? You have like the lights and the games and the seating areas, places to hang out, but places to play, and really brings people into a collective. And I like going through your social media. I saw you guys do karaoke night, which sounds like a blast. That always does pretty well when you got drinks and food and people playing games. That's the kind of community that you want. It's cool you do that and run tournaments and things. Let's talk about the day to day like tasks for you guys, right? As co-owners of the arcade, you guys are splitting up duties. You kind of know what each does and what to expect from each other. What does a typical day look like for each one of you, and what kind of responsibilities you guys have at the arcade?
It's I don't know. I feel like that part's a little boring. That's okay. It's your basic. You come in, got to turn everything on, open everything up, fire up the kitchen, open up the bar. We There's a lot of overlap in what we do. Um, when you're a small business, you just do what needs to be done if it needs to be done. Where our duties really split is he does most of the all the tech work, and I do the administrative work. But when we're at the arcade itself, I guess he's primarily front of house. I'm a little more back of house, but again, it's kind of all over the place.
there's just the two of us, and we have, not only an arcade with around 50 games, but also a full bar and a full restaurant, essentially. It's the two of us, and we'll often have maybe one other person helping out.
Cleaning, prepping, making Jello shots, that sort of stuff.
Got it. So it's just you guys on the fly with maybe a little bit of help here and there to just
Yeah,
make stuff that's easy to prep. Yeah, that
exactly.
that makes a lot of sense. Um, what do you guys have for plans for the future? Like, are there any plans that you want to like expand an area of the arcade? Maybe more games, more pool table, more events.
Well, certainly more events. We're always planning, always innovating. There's new products, in the pipe. I don't want to give away too much, but again, we create this nitro root beer, Route 84, and there's more nitro cocktails up the road for us. And one of the things about our arcade that may set us apart, but it honors those original 80s arcades, is the story that it's based on. A lot of operators in the 80s would create a sci-fi motif, a little backstory, and it was cute. But most of us who enjoy this kind of thing are not 12 anymore. So the story that our place is based on is a mature themed and sexy time travel story. And so what we're going to see up the road is the release of our Time Shuttle Chronicles in hopefully both printed and digital formats that bring to the guest the story that is at the foundation of this new arcade with old games. What happens leading up to the visit where the guest is immersed in that story, and what happens next in the timeline. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, and we've already mentioned karaoke. You mentioned that we do tournaments. We're looking to start doing some trivia nights. We've got another lock-in party coming up, which is you buy a ticket, which includes some food and drink, and then come midnight when we usually lock the doors, everybody that doesn't have a ticket has to leave, and those who are part of the lock-in party get to stay as long as they want, and we just eat, drink, and sing all night. The latest we went, the first lock-in party was 7:30 a.m. So it's a lot of fun.
That sounds like a blast. I mean, you get to hang out in the arcade till 7:30, get to hang out with all your friends that are usually there. I've never heard that. That's definitely a clever idea. You guys clearly love the arcade. If you didn't, you wouldn't open one, right? Because they aren't crazy money makers. They're passion businesses most of the time. Let's talk about your favorite games. Like each one of you, I want to hear like your top 5 games of all time. Like these are the games that I would have in my living room for my own playing pleasure.
Well, I always go right to Gravatar. This deep cut is exceptionally difficult. The physics are amazing. This is a vector scan game from Atari that came out right around the crash, kind of a successor to Asteroids and Lunar Lander, more or less a hybrid of both. It's got really unique gameplay, and people who like Asteroids or who like maybe Major Havoc could get into this. But it's really difficult, and so it doesn't get a lot of gameplay, but I love it. It's never going to leave my possession. And along with that, there's a few great ones like the Tempest Cocktail Table. Arkanoid is a big, favorite of mine, a romantic attachment from my younger days. And Centipede, also in cocktail form, is great fun. What about you, Shannon?
When people ask this question a lot, when I'm in the bar, and I usually take it. It's so hard to pick, so I usually take it from, if you gave me some tokens right now, what would I go play? Tapper is definitely on the top of the list. Love Tapper. Time Pilot. Um, Pole Position, the sit down environmental. I am terrible. I never get better than like 72nd place, but I still love to play. um, and then, good head to head like Joust, something you can play with a friend or a group of friends like Gauntlet. Those are a lot of fun. I like those.
Those are all great games. Like every single one on that list was a great game. I love the environmental cockpit cabinets. They're different. There's something about them that just makes them a little bit more fun than the rest.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of people that are looking to open an arcade or already open an arcade watch the podcast. So what advice would you give to someone that is just about to open? Like, let's say they have the games, they have the building, they're about to open their doors. What are some pitfalls to avoid and some advice that you would give them?
That's a good question.
You're going to need a ton of money, a ton. And you'll need to find something about the arcade that's going to generate that revenue to support the arcade that isn't the arcade. Again, people, they can get these games. If it's about the gameplay, they can get these games themselves, and many do. And it's kind of a thorn in our side that so many people are collecting these games and just keeping them to themselves. It's something that I understand, but for those of us who want to open an arcade and share these games and this culture with our communities and with the country and with the world, that's a bit of an obstacle. So, to you middle-aged guys hoarding these games, why don't you come down on your price and sell them out to some of the young people who want to, innovate and create something new for the community?
Yeah, and I'd say it's like somebody told us when we first started, and it really proved true. Your audience may not be, or your customers may not be who you think it's going to be. And I would suggest just, recognize that, pay attention, and roll with it when you see who's really spending the money to, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business and you need to be open. So who's spending the money, and then cater to those. You cannot cater to everybody. Trying to give everybody everything, I think, is just a recipe for failure. So focus on what you do well, what you enjoy doing, what people want, and don't get discouraged. People are going to have all kinds of ideas about. The big joke between us is, you know what you should do.
You should do.
Listen to people, but don't, stick with your guns. Know what you want to do, what your vision is, and just stick with it and stay at it, and try and find other small businesses, specifically arcades, if you can. That might not be possible, but just to kind of help you feel like you're not in it alone. There's highs and lows, and it just really helps to have some people that understand kind of what you're going through as a small business owner, and that day-to-day struggle and the highs and the lows.
Yeah, I think that's good advice on both sides. Like having a lot of money in the bank is going to make it a little bit easier when there's not as much traffic coming in. But also like from our side with like developing arcade games, you get a lot of feedback. You get a lot of you should do this, you should do that, you should change this. Some ideas are good, some ideas are horrible, and you got to just take the ones that are good and the ones that are bad. You just let them go. Take it with a grain of salt, right? Um,
For real.
I don't know how much you guys know about the indie arcade space. I know Eric and I were talking a little bit when we were in Portland, but what do you guys think about this resurgence of new arcade developers bringing stuff in? Like we just finished our second game, which was an Atari license. We remade Food Fight into a 4-player game. What do you guys think
Sweet.
about the space?
Just as we discussed, and as you guys discussed in the forum at the convention, it is a clear resurgence. We obviously were set back by the pandemic and the effects of that governance, but one of the things again that sets 2084 apart and our philosophy is that we look forward to the future. We really do think that some of the best times are ahead, and for the indie arcade space, that you guys are still around, that you guys are moving machines, and that people like us want those machines in our arcades. And private owners also have that interest, shows validation. And there's a lot of promise ahead for us. I think that we need to continue to work together in a strategic alliance to help each other and continue to validate this form of entertainment, this this way of people enjoying recreation together. It's not just a new way for people to enjoy themselves, enjoy life, and in their communities, but it's really important that they do it.
I love the indie aspect of it. I mean, there was a period, after the '80s, arcade crash, yada yada, and then it was mostly big corporate, Dave and Buster's, Chuck E. Cheese, that kind of place where the the gaming and the experience kind of came from the top down. Like, here's what we think you want. And the indie style is really like, no, we're the players, we're the gamers. This is what we want, and it just keeps it all relevant, and it's just a different flavor that I feel is more relatable to a lot of people, and more fun, frankly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you said, like the Chuck E. Cheese, Dave and Buster's, like those places make money. You can't argue they do it, but they feel kind of soulless.
For
Like
exactly.
they don't have that energy that you had in the arcade, that community, and that's what we want to bring back. We want people, bumping elbows, playing games, talking trash. Like that's what we want to see, and that's what makes us so happy when we bring these games to conventions. That's really all I had for you guys for questions. I really appreciate you coming on. Just shout out social medias, let people know where they can follow along, and I mean, let them know where they can come to the arcade.
Yeah, awesome, man. And that four-player food fight, that's something that I'm interested in.
So yeah, we're on Instagram, arcade_2084. We're on Facebook, Bar the Time Forgot. I think we're defaulted on Threads. We're pretty busy, so we don't branch out too much into a lot of the socials. And if you want to come visit us or in person, downtown Hillsboro, 248 East Main Street, between Second and Third. Um,
And as always, arcade2084.com.
that's right. Brand new website. It looks great.
Fantastic. I'm going to throw all those links down in the description so that you guys can go check out Arcade 20 or 2084. I really appreciate you guys' time. Thank you for coming on and chatting, telling us the story of the arcade. If anybody's still watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us a ton. The wave will continue to grow. We can all ride it together. And then the website is live. So don't forget, if you want an indie in your arcade or your personal collection, indiearcadewave.com. You can pick it up there. We can chat about certain games, and we'll get you the game you want. Until next time, peace.
Jeff.
Thanks, Joe.